we're respectful of everybody's time. And I know we'll probably have a couple trickling in here. I know of at least one that got stuck in traffic. So if everybody could be seated. Everybody, please make sure that you have one of these at your table and access to markers. So first of all, let me say welcome. My name is Emily Martin. Most of you probably received an email from me. I am the development specialist for Nishna Productions. And basically, I wear a lot of hats, and I'm here to just kind of facilitate our discussion today. The first thing we're going to do, since there are so many new faces in the room, is we're going to make a name tag. But before you go crazy with decorating your name tag, I want to give you a couple instructions. First of all, put the name on it that you would like to be called today. If that includes a title, please make sure that that's on there. Second of all, you need to include a certain symbol on your name tag based on what group of people you are with today. So if you are a legislator, a legislative representative, a candidate, or a lobbyist, you need to put a star. If you are an employee, staff member, direct support of Nishna Productions, you need to put a circle. If you're a family member or a guardian of someone that we provide services to, please put a square. And if you're a board member, please put a triangle. If you fit more than one category, please put the appropriate symbols. Okay, now here's the kicker. In the interest of helping you all understand a little bit of what we do every day, I'm going to ask these two tables right here, people sitting over here, are going to write their name wearing an oven mitt. Y'all are going to have to share. These tables, you four, are going to use the goggles, and you four are also going to use goggles. Everybody else has to use their non-dominant hand to write their name. Would your name have been legible in the first place?
Richard, she knows you.
And if you're over here, also you can And if this makes you uncomfortable, you do not have to participate.
That's all right.
Family members is square.
Just make sure I see that.
Square and a triangle. A family member is a square.
Oh, I see.
Just use your non-dominant hand, that's all I ask.
Jacob, how you doing? Hey, doing well.
Yep. I'm sorry, I guess you can.
Mom, this is my non-dominant hand.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll start right up here. I've given my introduction. My name's Emily. I wrote mine left-handed. It is what it is. And we'll start here. If you just want to say your name and what your affiliation with Nishna is, what your little symbol means.
I'm Mary Rolfe, and I'm president of the board.
And I'm Stacy Watts, and I sit on the board.
I'm Doug Reekin. I am on the board, and I also have a family member who is a client from Mr. Production.
I'm Sherry Clark, and I'm the executive director of Nishna Productions. No,
She's had a lot of practice.
I had shoulder surgery.
Oh, that's
so really good.
Monica Bartlett. I am the Director of Operations at Nishna Productions.
I'm Mary Wade, and I'm the internal employment team leader at
I'm Tina Steinman, and I'm a team leader in Redwood.
I'm Casey Kemwanja, and I'm an assistant team leader in Page County.
Debbie Stockville, team leader in Page County.
Lisa Alabama, team leader in Sydney and West West.
French Cole, one of the page producers and team leaders.
I'm Kathy Weebold, and I'm the recording secretary for the board of directors of Nishna Productions.
Dennis Gates, board, Nishna Productions.
I'm Donna Berry. I work for Senator Grassley in his Council Bluffs, Iowa office.
Richard Crouch, Mills County Supervisor, representing Mills County and also set on the board of directors.
Byron Brockman, parent guardian.
Diane Brockman, parents and guardian.
Jennifer G. I am the team leader of Malvern and Glen Valley, Glenwood.
Sandy Girls, board member.
Don Folks, board member and parent of a client.
I'm Marcia Shepherd, and I'm a board member.
I'm Dr. Brian Jack Holder. I'm a candidate for Iowa's new 4th Congressional District, and I'm running under the Liberty Caucus banner. I'm from Council Bluffs.
I'm Jacob Apple with Representative Cindy Axie's staff.
Tom Shipley, currently state senator, not for this district, but hope to be with the redistricting.
Roger McQueen, I'm mayor of Shenandoah and a proud supporter of Nishna Productions.
I'm Julie McQueen. I'm the team leader for Community Employment Specialist, and yes, he's my hat. I'm the better
I'm Cindy Gangstead. I'm legislative counsel for Nishna Productions.
Tim Coonan, Dennis Davis Brown Law Firm, and legislative counsel for Nishna Productions.
Okay, so welcome, all of you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that you took time out of your afternoon, your evening to be here to listen to our concerns. And I wanted to ask you, what did it feel like when you had to do something that you were not familiar with doing? Was it challenging? Was it uncomfortable? Did it make your brain hurt trying to cross the line and use your other hand? Those are some of the things that the people we support deal with every single day. And while for you it's a temporary discomfort, that is their life. It may be, we serve people who have physical handicaps. We serve people who have mental illnesses. We serve people with intellectual disabilities. We serve the gamut of people. So I want to start with showing you a little bit of a video for those of you who are unfamiliar with our agency of all the different services that we provide. It's a lot in about 2.5 minutes, but you'll get a little bit more familiar with what we do as we go through the evening. Nishna Productions is a nonprofit, community-based agency serving adults with disabilities in Southwest Iowa. We provide supports and opportunities for them to meet their goals in communities where all members are valued. We provide supports for daily living skills, socialization, and community involvement. Our residential services provide up to 24 hours of daily support in one of our 22 houses. Residential services include assisting with self-help skills such as bathing, dressing, hygiene, and feeding, household upkeep, community mobility and involvement, budgeting, meal planning and preparation, medication management, and any other needs the resident may have. Nishna Productions provides residential services in Fremont, Mills, Montgomery, and Page counties. Similar to our residential services is our intermittent supported community living program. This program is designed to work with people who live in their own homes or apartments and who need only a few hours of support a week. The support of our direct care staff allows these individuals to maintain a degree of independence. The community employment team at Nishna Productions helps individuals prepare for, find, and maintain successful employment. We guide individuals as they explore and learn about potential community jobs. Community employment staff assess each individual to discover their skills and aids them in learning new skills. They also provide job placement, job site development, and job coaching. Nishna Productions operates day habilitation services in Shenandoah, Red Oak, and Glenwood. These daily programs provide opportunities for socialization, community involvement, and for learning new skills. The most valuable asset of Nishna Productions is the staff who provide services. These direct support professionals are at the heart of everything we do, working around the clock. They care for our individuals like they are family, creating innovative solutions to their issues and celebrating their successes. So that is, in a nutshell, a whole big mouthful of everything that we do. We provide a lot of services and supports that enable people to be successful in the community that they choose to live in at the level of independence that they're capable of. And we try and increase that level of independence as they go throughout our program. So I would like to introduce Sherry. She's introduced herself already. This is our executive director, and she'll give you kind of an overview of some of our challenges.
First off, thank you all for coming. We appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your schedules to come and be with us today. This has sort of been an annual event where we talk about the issues that we face as it relates to our futures and how we operate. This is not my first rodeo, folks. For those of you who don't know me, this is my 38th year here at Nishna Productions.
Hi.
I am the longest term employee that the agency has today. Mary Wade is close behind me. We've seen a lot. There's been a lot of changes. There's always a lot of changes. This October 15th will actually be my 45th year in the business. I know you can't see any gray hair because I have a really good beautician, but yes, I started out as a social worker for the Department of Human Services on October 15th, 1977. And my first caseload was all people with disabilities. I traveled the state. I worked in 2 counties, Clay and Palo Alto. And that's how my interest in this business started. After 4 years in working for the department, I said, this isn't for me. So I moved to an agency that's today called Horizons Unlimited in Emmitsburg. And I came here in 1984 to get this agency accredited under CARP. And we have, the first year we were only awarded 1 year. Every year since we've been awarded 3 years. So they've been around a really long time, and some days feel really old. So community providers, we have a lot of challenges. I think, if you look at your program, we're under a federal emergency because of the COVID pandemic. As a result of that federal emergency, the federal government has assisted every state with additional Medicaid funding, and I'm quite concerned about what's going to happen to that additional Medicaid funding when the federal emergency ends. Right now, it could be sometime in January, could go beyond that. The benefits of that additional federal Medicaid assistance and with the state's match obviously have allowed us to do better things for our staff. We get better reimbursement rates. 90 to 95% of our funding is Medicaid. All we do is home and community-based services. So you might find other agencies doing ICFID services. We do not do those services. We have never done those services. And those are services where they employ nurses, and the staff and the clients really need to have medical nursing support. You're going to find some of those places who are going to stop providing that because it's not where we all want to go. We all want to live in the community. I spent some time this noon, with the two doctor's offices at Montgomery County Memorial Hospital in Red Oak, just talking about the fact that we're beginning to work with more severely challenged people who do not want to live in a nursing home. They want to live in the community. And so in order to provide those community services, we have to have consistent Medicaid funding. And we always wonder, well, what's going to happen? We've been very thankful for the state legislature and the reimbursement rate increases that we've been given historically. We're still working on more. So if you're in the state legislature, we're going to work on you to get additional Medicaid funding for additional reimbursement rate increases. Why is that important? Well, because we have workforce shortages. We are like every other employer in the country. We've done fairly well. We have a board of directors that's committed to doing well for our staff. Our staff are starting anywhere between 17 and 20 today, depending on their experience. So in order to do that, we have to have additional continued Medicaid funding. Today, we are 24 positions short. Most of those are residential direct care positions, but we have others. We have, as Emily indicated, we have a rehabilitation program where we have an opening here in Shenandoah. We also have some other positions, maintenance positions, and we have a workforce manager position, but 20 to 22 of those are direct care. The thing that I've not talked about that I kind of want to focus on is right now we are in the midst, very involved with the closing of Glenwood Resource Center. We're right here. We've been working with the department since January before the closure was announced because we wanted to be a part of the solution to the folks who have lived at Glenwood for years and their guardians and families want them to remain in Southwest Iowa. So we currently have between 20 and 25 referrals from Glenwood Resource Center. Our biggest need when it comes to that, of course, is direct care staff. It's very hard for us to compete with the wages that the staff at the Resource Center currently make. I live in Red Oak, and there's quite a few Glenwood Resource Center staff that live in Red Oak, have lived there for years. We have some direct care staff who live there who know who those people are. And they say, well, we're making $25, $26, $27 an hour. Pretty hard for us to compete with that, even though we know it will come to an end. We also cannot compete with the $6,000 a year incentives that they are getting to stay. So we are able to offer recruitment and retention bonuses. We thank the Department of Human Services for those. Those are $4,000, actually $3,922. Nishna has put in the extra money to make it an even $4,000. We do have some staff coming over from GRC. They are generally the staff that probably started sometime next year, sometime last year in the fall, and we can actually pay them more money than what they're currently making. But as we move people from Glenwood, we need to have the opportunity to at least try to bring the staff with them In 2015, Nishna took 15 people from Park Place. Park Place was a nursing home for people with intellectual deficits in Glenwood. It at one point was a 110-bed nursing facility. When it closed, it had closer to 70 people. In the end, they asked us if we would admit 15 of those people. The beauty of how that was a successful transition was, guess what? We got staff. Most of the staff that were working with these individuals came with them. The referrals that we have from Glenwood today have lived there 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. I've read the referral packets, and of course, way back in the day, guess what? There was no place for a child that was born with disabilities to go. So oftentimes, it was the state school that accepted them. Well, folks, there's no going back. So if we can find a way to recruit some of those Glenwood staff to come work for us, the chances of success for the people coming out of Glenwood are much better. And think about it. You know, I was a social worker, so I get the concerns of a family member or a guardian where their child or the person that they're responsible for has lived there all those years. It's been their security, their shelter, and it's not going to be anymore. Governor Reynolds was with us in Glenwood a week ago today. We had a long conversation with her, and there's no going back. There's absolutely no going back, which we had already figured out in several of the other conversations that we had. She asked to come visit us. We certainly would have invited her, but we did not. She wanted to come visit us. She specifically wanted to visit one of our residential sites in Glenwood. So we took her to a site with 4 women. Jen G is the team leader there. 4 happy women. There was a lot of hugging going on throughout the visit. Michelle and Tammy and Danielle were very happy to share their experiences living in the community with her. On the way out, Governor Reynolds looked at me and said, I needed this. So I don't know why she wanted to come visit us last Monday. It was kind of a last minute thing for us, but it worked out, and she did get to experience the beauty of people living in the community. Back to the Park Place people, not all of them are living today. Many of them were older. Many of them were people with significant health issues by the time they came to us. But those that are still with us today, I can assure you are very happy and very healthy. They just have a new way of life. Some of them have not been able to leave Park Place for 30 years. Think about that, 30 years. Why? Because the staff wouldn't take them out because they were embarrassed. How do we know that? Because those staff came to work for us. So the transition, though difficult and with many challenges, can be a successful thing. As a community provider, we need, again, to have additional funding so that we can compete with some of those wages. And by the way, you know, I'll tell you that the most important people that we employ are the direct support personnel that we have. Sometimes I think society undervalues them and undervalues people with disabilities. Even today, I think people with disabilities are often seen as second-class citizens. And hey guys, they are human beings with the same rights as all the rest of us. They just have more challenges to living every day and experiencing life than we do. And we have a responsibility, I think, to the staff that care for them to show that we value what they do for us. As we have worked through these transitions from Glenwood Resource Center. One of our biggest challenges has been finding affordable housing. The people coming out of Glenwood are typically coming out with the maximum supplemental security income benefit, which is a Social Security benefit, $841 a month. Okay. Most of these people that are coming to us right now, they're in wheelchairs. They come with lots and lots of other durable medical equipment. So we need to have affordable housing that's also totally accessible. And so as we looked around, as we began to look around, you know, there's not too much affordable, and there's not too much that's totally accessible. So I've talked with a couple of people, and so one person was willing to build us a 4-person house, totally accessible, wanted $1,800 a month just for the rent. And so when people live in home and community-based services, they pay their own daily living bills. So the residents would be paying the rent, the utilities, internet, television, food, any of the personal things that they need. Well, think about $1,800 just for the rent and $841 a month is your income. The next place that we looked at was $3,000 a month. Totally accessible, would have been built just to the residents' needs. Would be rent, utilities, and television all combined, $3,000. Again, on 841, you can't afford that. So we began looking for other properties. And you all know what the economy has done with housing prices. Wow, it's gone through the roof. Our folks can't afford that sort of rent. We had a situation where we had a landlord willing to rent to us. His previous renter was paying $815 a month rent. Rent to us, $1,300. So again, affordable housing, and I think affordable housing across the country is most likely an issue. You add totally accessible housing on top of it, it becomes almost impossible to overcome. Now, what did they say? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. So, Sherry, and we've been working with SWIPCO, Southwest Iowa Planning Council. So we've been working with John McCurdy, the CEO. I have been. And we've been a lot of squeaking. So we do believe that we are going to get some assistance from the HOME program, the State Iowa Finance Authority, the HOME program. And I think maybe they might be slightly bending the rules for us. We don't know, but I think I had so many conversations with John and with Debbie Durham that I think finally they have said, hey, we'll help you. So we are trying to build 3 ranch-style homes for 4 people, all totally accessible. At this point, it does appear Malvern, Red Oak, and possibly Shenandoah is where they're going to be located. We have enough referrals to fill those houses as well. In the next 60 days, we'll have 6 people from Glenwood Resource Center transitioning to a duplex that we have in Red Oak. So we are heavily involved in that transition. There's some push to get it done in 2023. I don't know, has the closure date been officially changed, Richard?
Pardon?
Has the closure date of GRC,
It is, to my knowledge, is December 31st of 2024.
okay? So there is some pressure on us to move with our new houses, but the process to get people transitioned to sell is very slow. Which is fine right now because we would have 45 open staff positions if those people were all living with us today. So we operate on quite a big wing and a prayer, but we're moving forward as I tell my staff, it's onward and upward. The people that are coming to us from Glenwood are people who want to live in Southwest Iowa. And guess what? There's not very many providers in Southwest Iowa. So, have I missed anything, staff? Nishna staff? Anything you want to add over there? Wendy? Wendy's our Director of Residential Services.
I missed it all, I just came in, so I bet she covered it all in casting, right?
Okay, so what we'd like to do next is, we have Byron and Diane Brockman from the Melbourne area. Their son moved to Nishna Productions from Glenwood Resource Center in very late December. He was our second transition from Glenwood. We had 2 others since. I would invite you two to either stand up where you're at or come up here and talk about your experience.
Corey lived at GRC for 13 years prior to coming in December. They asked us every year, do you want to go out in the community? We kept saying no. Then last year we said maybe we ought to try. Well, it was before that. So we worked with Wendy. We looked at lots of houses, but Corey's got to be close for mom. So it's got to be pretty close to Glenwood. We looked at Red Oak, a couple places, then Wendy said Malvern had an opening, and we went and looked, and that day we knew that was the house. Because Corey's in a chair, wheelchair. It was wide hallways, big open areas. So then we started to transition. He moved in December. It's been awesome ever since. Staff's good. If they have a problem, they call. Corey gets his medicine through a G-tube, so they all had to learn how to do that. It's one big happy family. This spring, Jen pops up and says, would Corey like to go to camp? Corey's never been to camp in his life. Corey don't talk. If he likes you, he'll hug you to death, and that's how you know he's happy. So Corey went to Camp Sunnyside in July, left white, come back tan, and we assume everything went good. Corey had some money to blow, so he got his wheelchair swing, and he loves to swing. And he'd come in there a day, and we got it up, so now he'll be happier because he can swing and be outside. But they have been, if there's a problem, we get phone calls. It's been awesome. It's like one big happy family. You don't have to call up and say, hey, we're getting him such and such day like we had to do at GRC and sign papers. You can just go to the house, say, hey, we're getting him, and go eat and come back. And Corey has, at GRC, they fed him all the time. With Money Falls people, they got him a spoon and a fork, and if he's in the right mood, Nishna has got him to feed himself. So, and he has grown belly-wise, and but it's just, it's.
We don't give them enough credit.
Yeah, they are awesome. We've had some issues, lots of incident report, and I kept saying, oh my God, they're gonna send him away, he's been bad, and Jen's like, no, 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 and now they got everything worked out, but it's been, they are a good team. If they got questions, they call. But they are awesome people. Staff is like, they treat them like family. And we inherited a new family when Corey went to Malvern because we treat all them guys as family. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. If you remember the very last picture in the agency video, that's Corey.
Thank you for sharing. And I forgot to point out, on the back of your program, there's a spot to take notes. If you're trying to scribble in the margins or whatever. You didn't bring your own paper. Sorry, giving you a heads up. And if you have questions, we do have time at the end. So just make a note of them, and we'll make sure we get to them. So what we're going to see next is a couple of videos of staff members who talk to me a little bit about how long they've been here, what made them come to Nishna, what they like about working here, and encouragement or words of advice they would have for anybody who would like to work at Nishna or who is thinking about applying.
Hi, my name's Debbie Terry, and I've been at Nishna Productions for 27 years. I have very, very good memories of my years here at Nishna. I assist townies with their banking, paying their bills, grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, setting up their medications, working on their goals, teaching them to cook, safety in their home, safety in the community, where to get help out in the community if they need it. Encourage them to join community groups like Elks, Eagles, library, volunteering. We do make fairly good money, but I love the clients. Some of the clients I work with were here before I started 27 years ago. I've got to watch them find jobs, meet friends, make their goals, learn how to live on their own, learn how to cook, join programs. Working in their homes kind of binds you together. It's more personal. We're a family here. We have a lot of different personalities, staff and client-wise, but we make it work. There's always some place that you fit in here at Nishna Productions, and they're willing to work with you in your life. I haven't had to give up raising my children, going through treatments. I was able to work through all that. So it's been very flexible, pleasant experience for me.
My name is Kayla Raymond. I've worked here for about 15 years. I am a supportive community living specialist. I work in one of the residential homes in Shenandoah. I assist the individuals to become more independent in hopes that one day they would be able to live independently. I help with their everyday needs in the house, cooking, cleaning, any kind of needs they have. It's more than a job for me. The clients become like family to you. If they're sad, you're sad. If they're happy, you're happy. Anything they feel, you feel. The advice I would give you is just make sure you're here because you want to impact these individuals' lives in a positive way. You want to be an important part of their life. I don't think anybody should come here for the money or anything like that. It needs to be because you want to be a positive influence on their life. You want to be there for them. You want to support them. Nishna is an amazing place to work for. I have always felt very valued as an employee. Everybody's great team members. Anyone you encounter is really awesome.
Okay, so before we go further, we have a late addition to your agenda, and I would like to invite Roger McQueen, the mayor here in Shenandoah, to give a few thoughts, share a few thoughts with us.
I did, I kind of horned my way in. Julie told me Friday this was going to happen today, and I said, I'm going. She said, I'm not sure you're invited. I said, I'm going anyway. I wanted to be here for two or three or four or five reasons. One, I'm a supporter of Nishna Productions because I live with somebody that's worked there for 30 years, you know, but I see what goes on. I volunteered, I played Santa Claus out there. I went on the disabilities walk. Actually, when I was recovering from surgery, Julie Halsey let me come out and work. And I stopped on hours, but I still went out and worked. But, you know, I met a lot of the clients and so forth, and I've known a lot of them as long as Julie has. So anyway, but I wanted to be here for that reason, and because, you know, when we look at the amenities that a town offers, we can look at a golf course and parks and churches and so forth. But what, to me, this is in the top 10. When a community such as Shenandoah or Malvern or any of those can offer what the Nishna Productions Workshop provides here in Shenandoah. And in my opinion, you know, that has to maintain. We have to have something like that in our community. You know, I grew up out in the country, got a neighbor that had a son that was disabled. You know, I don't think he ever left the house. And I can remember that very well growing up. And now I go out here in the workshop and I see what a different world, you know, because everybody wants to feel a need, a purpose in their life, and I think that's what they provide. And not to go on with your housing thing, but if I may, me and Sherry talked about it the other day. She called me, told me about the plans for this housing. I think I sent you, 12 or 14 lots here in Shenandoah that we will sell in Nishna Productions, City of Shenandoah, for $1 if they'll put a house on it. So, we're not doing it for that reason. We want that house in Shenandoah. We want to be able to provide that decent housing for these people coming out of Glenwood. So, you know, I didn't come down here for the applause. When she talked to me, I said, we're going to do this, and I got her a list right away, and I told her I'm right behind you, and if the council gets in the way, I'm moving them out, because I got 12 of them, Sherry, so if you can get 12 houses built, we'll give you $12, you can have them all. But no, I am very excited about that, you know, and with the group homes in town, you know, we have a duplex that we rent out, city owns and so forth, and so, you know, I believe Shenandoah is committed. You know, I'm here not campaigning or not to promote Shenandoah. I'm here with my heart because of what's going on. And I hate to see the reductions in funding for these programs because this needs to keep going on. We need these in our communities. So, Tom, I'm going to nudge you when I get back over there, but sadly for Tom, he's known me a long time. But all of them, I don't know what we have to do to keep reminding the ones that make these laws and rules that this is very important to the communities we live in. So I appreciate everyone's time in coming down here, and for giving me a few minutes to speak. Thank you.
Okay, we have 3 of our staff members here that have agreed to share their thoughts and some of their concerns. The first one we'll start with is Jen G. Agreed to? Whatever.
The alarm clock is going off. You bolt up and your first thought is, what day is it? Where am I going today? I'm late. I need to get going. Have you ever been so tired that you can't think straight? You don't know what day of the week it is? You barely know what time it is? Your patience is at a very low point. It hurts to move and you're moving at a slow pace. You don't remember when you had a day off, let alone any time for yourself. Believe it or not, this is a place that I have been at. When you don't have staff that can work a shift, then you do it. It doesn't matter what time the shift is. For example, one week I can work 7 hours on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, go in at 2 p.m. on Saturday, get off at 7 a.m. on Sunday. Another example would be working awake overnight on Thursday, Friday, get off at 7 a.m., be back at 2 p.m. to work until 9 p.m., back in on Saturday at 7 a.m. for 14 hours, followed with 7 to 14 hours on Sunday. That is just direct care hours. Doesn't include office time, meetings, or anything else that has to be completed for the week. You don't know if you are coming or going sometimes. When you are short-staffed, these examples are reality. We ask a lot of our staff to help out with the extra hours, but we also need to be helping out as much as we can because our first priority is that of our clients. Burnout is real, Staff shortages are real. This is a daily factor that we face. And why are we short-staffed? There are many reasons. First would be wages. Yes, wages are better than they were when I started 11 years ago, but they really are not where they should be to get the quality of direct support personnel that we need. People hear that you are starting out at 17 to 18 an hour. Awesome, great job. Until they hear what they will be doing to earn that money. We work and work our bottoms up every day to earn that wage. What do? Let me tell you. At 2 of the sites that I work at, we have aging clients. Some of these clients have been there for 25 plus years. As with any aging person, you have health issues that arise. So do our clients. Out of 8 clients, 7 of them are incontinent, which means we are changing them every time they are wet or have a bowel movement. We have 2 clients with catheters, so that means emptying bags and watching to make sure that they are working properly. We have 3 clients that do not speak, so we have to find ways to communicate with them and for them to communicate their needs to us. We have 1 client on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet. This means he has his own meals that are made just for him. We have 1 that is on an 1,800 calorie diet, so we count his calories every meal and snack throughout the day. 4 of our clients are on parade diets. We have 2 clients that we use a Hoyer lift to assist them from the wheelchairs to their bed or shower chairs. We have 2 clients that we help to transfer. We have 1 client that we hold his hands and walk with him to assist him from his recliner to the table or to his room. Medications are given when scheduled throughout the day. Showers, doctor appointments, and activities are all things that we have to schedule and work into the day as needed. If all of that wasn't enough to have some people running for the hills, then you add in other diagnoses that we work with. Some of these diagnoses would be at all levels of intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, seizure disorders, disruptive mood, dysregulation disorders, bipolar disorder, dementia, schizophrenia, depression, intermittent explosive disorder, Down syndrome. I know that is a lot of words, so let's talk about a few of them. You have a client that continually yells at her peers and staff, name calling, telling you that she hopes you die, she's going to call the cops, or better yet, she's going to call Sherry. So not only is she yelling at you, and another peer is yelling back at her. You ask them to stop, but talking from experience, it isn't going to stop. You have other clients in the house that are getting agitated due to the yelling, which starts behaviors in them. You are dealing with dementia. Clients forget what they are doing or how to do something. You may have to help them with the same thing 20 times a day. Is this really worth $17 to $18 an hour to listen to and work with these kinds of behaviors? You have another client that likes to pinch, scratch, hit, or kick at you when you are trying to help clean him up from a bowel movement. He repeats the same questions or phrases throughout your shift. Go to bed. Go on an outing. Join me tonight. Hi, how are you? Applesauce? And fucker. You can go somewhere else and get a better wage and not have to deal with what we deal with. Is every day like this? No. Some days are better and some days nothing seems to go right. Would you want to do this job? Why do I do this job and what do the clients get? Let's start with the clients. For many of them, we are the only constant in their lives. They get to be as independent as they can be. We are there to help them in any way we can. It's hard not to become family to the clients because if we are going to be truthful, we are their families. We are there for them when they need us. We care for them during their struggles and their joys. And yes, we do have joys. We get new clients and work with them to be as independent as they can. To hear that they are doing things that they hadn't before is great. Watching the clients achieve goals is always a good thing. For most of our clients, their daily lives would be so much different if they were in a nursing home or other living arrangement. They wouldn't get the attention that they get living in a smaller house or fewer roommates. They get a sense of belonging and of independence. They get choices. They get to choose what to have for meals, when to take showers, what to do for activities. They get to feel important. What do I get out of this job? I get smiles, I get handshakes and hugs. I get to watch a client accomplish a goal or use a fork for the first time. I get to celebrate the milestones with them. I get to fight to make sure that they get what they need and for clients to know that they are cared for and loved. I get to feel like I'm making a difference for someone. I get to make sure that they are not forgotten.
Thank you, Jen. Next, we have our community employment team lead, Julie. Yeah, come on up. Welcome, everyone.
cold in here?
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I'm here to talk about one of the services that Nishna Productions does called Community Employment. My name is Julie McLean, and I am a team leader of the Community Employment Department.
Julie, can you talk a little louder, please?
You have tenure yelling at me.
I have been employed at Nishna Productions for almost 30 years and have been involved in community employment for 10 years. Before that, I trained individuals in the sheltered workshop setting. You might say I'm a veteran of the employment services in one way or the other. When one of our clients gets a job in the community, it enhances their quality of life. The amount of pride they have, the morale of the company that they work for increases. They make money they want to spend in their communities. The relationships with coworkers means the world to them. I see the excitement when they are invited to a company picnic or a Christmas party, or if a coworker invites them to the movies or out to eat. And I've seen it all, and it's a great feeling. And it is the comments I get from employers thanking me for bringing my clients to them. That is all because I or someone in my department has gotten them a job. We all know that the clients that we serve need the help to experience all that. It's not just filling out an application, doing an interview and getting hired. It doesn't work that way with our clients. It's hard work and dedication from the employment specialist that gets them the job. They have the skills but need someone to help them find the right job to match the skills that they have. The problem is we as a company need the right amount of funds to do all of this. We live in a rural community where there's lots of drive time. We are required to do accurate documentation after the service has been delivered, but the reimbursements for both of these are included in the amount that's given to us. Here is an example. In an 80-hour pay period, and I just did this today, in an 80-hour pay period, a staff member spends 48 hours of direct time. Direct time is face-to-face, one-on-one. But on the same 80-hour pay period, the same staff spent 12 hours on the road getting to the client. Spent 8 hours of documenting that is required for us to do, and 5 hours of other direct time that is not necessarily face-to-face, but yet it's necessary for us to do the service that we do. And I lost my place. These meetings they're such as case managers and the rest of the client's team. We're talking with coworkers about situations that may come up during a face-to-face time. That's an additional 25 hours of required time to do the service that is included in the reimbursement. Basically, everything we do in an 8-hour day has something to do with the clients that we are working with. But we only get paid for face-to-face, and all other services are included in that pay. All of that we get paid is paying for the staff to do the services, the gas, the car repairs, the trainings that cost money too, and the other things I'm sure that I'm not even thinking about. We also have to have staff do these services, which, as everywhere else, is a challenge. If the reimbursement rates were higher, we could offer a higher wage. We have lack of employers that come on board and join us. But with money, we can better educate those employers on what they are missing out on. If you look at the behind-the-scenes things we are required to do for the amount that is paid to us, it's not enough to run a business. And let's face it, we are a business. We care about the people that we work with, but the bottom line is we are a business, and businesses need money to be successful. Thank you for your time.
And the final staff member that we're going to hear from today is Assistant Team Lead to Page County, did I get that right? Brent Consulting.
Everybody must think I talk fast. Jeez. Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. My name is Brenton Kroll. I am a Page County Assistant Team Leader. I've been in my job 11 and a half years. I'm in person. When you say, do you like your job? I can generally tell you I love my job. A variety of reasons, but really most of it is being a DSP. It's an often misunderstood about what we do, so let me walk you through a day a couple months ago. 3:15 in the morning, my phone rings. A client had fallen and needed taken to the ER. I go to the hospital, we get stitches. By the time we get out, it's 7 a.m. I start my shift at another house. Getting 4 disabled people dressed, fed, meds given, and out the door by 8:15 and 8:30 in the morning is no easy task. I then take a client to Omaha, where we find out he has cancer. The client does not understand what is going on, however, we sit and listen and we make a plan of what we're going to do. This client doesn't have a very active family, so it was the client that was making the decisions. After I spend the day in Omaha, Debbie calls me and tells me that we didn't have anybody to work a shift tonight, and she wanted me to work the house. So I went and worked the house. I started cooking dinner. One client had an accident. While I was changing him, another one started having a mental health issues. While I was dealing with both issues, I burnt the french fries. And I was almost late passing meds. I wasn't late though. We make it through dinner without the burnt french fries. After dinner, it showers the med again. Then everybody's favorite thing, documentation, to recap my entire day. Remember, I've been working since 3:15. It's now 10 p.m. and I go home to only return at 6 a.m. in the morning. DSPs work around the clock to help people we serve. Lately, the workforce shortage, we work more than ever. I work enough hours in a week to make people's eyes cross. In January, when we had a huge COVID outbreak, I worked enough hours in the week to make my eyes cross. But this is why we love what we do. We love clients. Last week, I sat in a meeting with a client who sat all around her family, and she was asked who her favorite person was, and she pointed to me. And that's really why we do this.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, so now I'm going to open it up to questions that any of you might have to staff, to family members, to board members. Yes?
You know, I don't really have a question, but I would just like to say to anybody here who doesn't understand from what we just heard from the staff, just a reality check. I don't think anybody here is asking for everyone to get $50 an hour. But the reality is, I was in Omaha yesterday. At McDonald's, in the window is starting wage, $15.50 an hour. And guess what? All I have to do is dip the french fries in the oil. They don't have to clean anything or deal with a mental health issue while they're doing that. I went to Hy-Vee, $17 an hour, starting wage. I get to stack cans and move boxes. I don't have to listen to anybody have a bad day. I don't have to be at work for 3 shifts in a row. I really, really feel like if we want to give these people what they deserve, we have got to be able to step up a little better than what we are. Healthcare gets taken for granted a lot, a lot. You can pay your entertainers millions of dollars, but who's gonna be there when you're hurt and when you need help? It's not gonna be Tom Cruise or the guy at Hy-Vee. I'm just saying. That's it, I'm done.
Does anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Marcia.
I also, I worked for Voc Rehab for 10 years before I retired, and then Sherry coerced me into being on the board. No, I really wanted to, because that tied in with what I had been doing before. And with the closing of the Glenwood Resource Center, we are again the only game in town in this part of the state. And I don't think we get our fair share of the allotment of monies for the people that we take care of. And I would just like the legislators to think about that, because we don't want to have to close any of our centers or shut down any of our services, because that affects our clients, and that's what we're here for. So, thank you.
Yes.
Are you getting any pushback from the community that you're going to put people in from, and I should have, I'll tell you where I'm coming from, because 2 weeks ago, I got some emails from people in Council Bluffs that some of the people from GRC were going to be located there. They were not happy. It's the old NIMBY deal. And I'm not very sympathetic with them, but I just, did I think that wasn't going to happen? Oh, yeah, right. And I'm just wondering, are you seeing any of that yet?
We've had some conversations.
Yeah, I've had some conversations in a couple of communities that I've gone into, talking with community members about the possibility of specifically the residents of GRC coming, and they said, well, but they can't live in the community. I said, yes, they can. I mean, we have other clients that we serve that absolutely have those same types of needs, and yes, they can. They said, well, but they would be a danger to us. And I said, well, while there are some at GRC who have some violent tendencies, not all of them do. And those that have violent tendencies are not the ones that we're necessarily looking at placing in the community. So I think from all the input I've gotten in the community, from specifically in Mills County, there's this idea of they need to come out of GRC, and that's a hard thing for that community to accept. They need to come out of GRC, so they have to go to community living, but we don't really want them in our neighborhood. They've just gotten very used to that institutional mindset that those people belong on the hill. And unfortunately, that's kind of a prevailing mindset that specifically in Mills County that we're fighting.
I don't know specifically in Mills County.
Well, the feedback I have received has been specifically out of Mills
County. But you know what I'm
County.
saying.
Yeah.
All of us in Southwest Iowa knew where those folks were going to spend their life. What resources. I had a cousin, I never knew her, back in the early 50s, and she spent the rest of her life there. And, I don't know what the issues were and so forth, but her parents decided that they didn't, when I asked my mom, I just, they didn't want to be dated, and I'm not sure they wanted to be bothered.
Yeah.
And so that's where she went.
And right now, it's an absolute fear of the unknown. There's just no current exposure. We're fortunate in Shenandoah, we have such support in the community. In Red Oak, we have great support in the community. We have many employers that hire people with disabilities, so they are very visible to other members of the community. We have good working relationships with some of the schools, so we're getting people exposed relatively young to people who are different than they are. That's not the case in Mills County because it's such a mindset of they stay on the hill, out of sight, out of mind thing. So part of that burden is on us to just educate and expose and help them, but we can only go so far until we hit so many roadblocks that we can't do anymore. One of those is housing. How can they be in the community if there's no housing available? The other one is doors open at the school. How can we get our foot in the door and start getting programs to get our young people interacting with people with disabilities? So it's those kinds of opportunities that we just continue to do.
And we're very aware of what you're talking about, Tom. We just have not experienced it yet. That doesn't mean that when somebody finds out what we're up to, that we won't cure that.
Yeah, I think this case, I think it may have had something to do with one of these guys working for the fire department.
Oh.
And I'm just kind of wondering if, through, they just go, look, coming down the street. And the neighbors come visit.
Well, the people that we're looking at taking right now are not those people.
Right, I understand that.
And it won't make one bit of difference if somebody's got an
No.
idea in their head that, oh,
Somebody
they're a
told
person
them-
from GRC.
Somebody told me that this was,
Yeah.
I'd like to find this somebody.
Yeah.
And this guy named they,
I'm pretty sure he lives in my kid's room. Along with I don't know.
He's got a lot of cousins.
It still goes on today, some of the houses that Nishna has were constructed before I came here, and they were constructed in 1983, and there was a problem in Shenandoah from the neighbors across the street, there was a problem in Red Oak from the neighbors. You just have to work your way through it, and I think the neighbors in Shenandoah both came to work for us, loved their jobs. The people in Red Oak just accepted us. The house that we currently have in Melbourne, actually it's a duplex. It's not close to anything where any people live really, so nobody says anything. And so it's education, and we just have to keep working at it.
That was a good question, Tom. Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else have thoughts or questions that they'd like to share? Sydney or Kim?
Well, I would just like to thank you all for inviting us today, and it's a pleasure to meet you all in person. As you know, Tim and I represent you at the Capitol, and I want you to know that Sherry is a squeaky wheel, and we are all better off for it, and we have learned a lot from her, and we can better represent you because of her, and we really appreciate the work that you all do. And Tim and I know how much you care for the folks that come to Nishna and how much the DSPs do, and that's really why we do what we do at the Capitol. So thank you all, and I mean that.
Yeah, I echo what Sydney said. I also just want to say that you're the victims of your own success.
It's true.
The reason I think, and I've been working with Sherry, we've been working with Sherry for 4 or 5 years now. I had very little knowledge of what you do, the community you serve, or that you do it probably closer to where I live than I thought I did. But because you're so good at what you do, policymakers don't know what you do. And meetings like this are really important. And explaining what you do is really important, because once you do get the ear of a legislator or a policymaker, and if they have a heart, they will pay attention. Because chances are, Senator Shipley, who, by the way, we're very lucky to have in the State House. He is someone we've worked with on a number of issues over a number of years. He's got a great ear and a great heart, and we're lucky to have him in this room today. But the work you do and the quality of life you provide means that there are no issues to be dealt with. And so that's great. I mean, thank God for all of you. But to Sydney's point, it's the squeaky wheel at the State House or in Congress that gets the grease, right? And so rather than being some major problem, for instance, like at Glenwood, life goes on, and you pull 18-hour shifts day after day after day, and you make it happen. And like I said, thank God, but the problem is then the legislators don't think there's an issue, right? And so what you're doing today is important. I would just urge you to keep talking about what you do. Keep telling your story. Keep going to forums and coffees and making sure legislators put a face to the issue, because there is no reason you shouldn't be on just the basic level paid what the people at Glenwood have been paid over the years. There's just no reason for it. There's just no reason that your reimbursement rates should be what they are, that you're 90 to 95% Medicaid funded, and the things you're doing, that doesn't even begin to cover the things you do. And so these meetings that you're having here are essential. Sherry, I really appreciate you for inviting us. And Senator Shipley, I appreciate you being here, and as always, it's good to have Congresswoman Axney and Senator Grassley in the room. I can tell you, if any of you have worked with them, you'll know that having their staff here is just as good as having the member of Congress here, because if for instance, Donna doesn't get something back to the senator, he is on one of his 99 county tours and he hears something here that he didn't hear from Donna, then she will certainly hear it from him. So, and I know that's the same thing with Congresswoman Axton. So, anyway, thank you for the time.
Along that line, if I may, and of course, these two know, and some others know that I can talk forever.
No.
Yeah, well, you know, and of course, much of this comes down to funding and through the Department of Human Services. I don't have a role on either Human Services Committee. I used to, but I don't anymore. It was either Human Services or Judiciary. And I had them both for a couple, 3 years, and I said, one of these has got to go. And I enjoyed the little time I spent, but I also don't, but more importantly to the issue, I don't serve on Human Resources Appropriations. But that does not mean that I can't have some input and it's important, you know, to tell those of us what your issues are, because at some point I can say, now wait a minute, here's what's going on, you know, and too often we find out too much stuff after the fact, but to step in and say, you know, this is, you know, and I guess if you've been there long enough, they will stop, take a minute to listen to you and understand why, you know, we can go what, when, where, but until we understand the why, nothing matters. Nothing matters until we know why. And that's what I try to do with the limited background or information that I had. Now, knowing that those guys are getting tons of information that I'm not seeing. And, you know, because I've got my own little world that I'm trying to wade through. But these two people are extremely helpful too. I was a lobbyist at one time, and they get painted with a pretty broad brush and a black eye, and it ain't like what you hear. These people are invaluable. I mean, to carry the message every day. It is just extremely important. That Sherry obviously works with them, and I've got my share of emails from Sherry, and I think I always try to respond back, because I know, you know, and my first experience with this Nishna Productions when I worked at the co-op in Red Oak 20-some years ago, and we had a guy there that worked there, did the office cleaning and so forth like that, and that was my first experience. So this is how this works.
Yep.
And God, David would make the rest of us look bad. I mean, he's just going after things like he's killing snakes and but you could just see it gave him a purpose in life, and people he could relate to, and never doubted what he wasn't going to greet you with a smile, you know. And so I just, you know, I think sometimes it's important to understand how some of this all works, and it's not that, you know, if I have this area, I don't envision my committee assignments are going to change very much, but it's still important to let us know, those that not just, you know, yeah, I may pass some, I will pass it on to people, and it's not just another on appropriations, it's with the staff at DHS through their liaison. I always keep those people in the loop, and if you want to get a hold, I can only speak for myself, but if you want to get a hold of me, it's got to be an email. And the reason I say it's got to be an email.
I can see you at the coffee shop.
Well, you can, but you better send me an email.
I know.
So and the reason is very simple. I don't want to lose anything in the translation. And, you know, we've all played that game of starting a message there, and it's not the same over here. I don't want to lose anything in the translation. And so I can forward that to them, DHS, or one of my colleagues, and so we got the same story we're looking at. And, well, you know, some things I've dealt with individuals, not with Nishna Productions, and have issues with DHS. If you can send that to the DHS people with their version and their information, how to get in touch with them. I mean, that, it all sends, and boy, there's many issues we've got resolved quicker than I ever would imagine because they had the right, you know, I see Donna does the same thing. It's just, it's extremely helpful, so. I will stop then, or Johnny, I will try to. Roger, I'm sorry. Well, you know, 40 years ago, I could never keep you guys apart.
In his defense, I do have the twin brothers.
I'm Donna from Senator Grassley's office in Council Bluffs, and I'll just give you a little bit of history on how I know Nishna Productions. When I first started with the Senator 21 years ago, we were in the old federal building downtown on Broadway. And Tony Wilcoxon, maybe some of you remember that name?
Yes.
She had a crew that was our cleaning crew at the building. And GSA sold our building to a private person. And he was not a good landlord, to say the least. And they lost that job there. And I was always, always sorry that they were not there to depend on anymore. You always knew the stability that was going on in the building because they did their job every day. And since then, I can't even tell you how many different cleaning operations have taken care of my office. And some were not as good as others, but Nishna Productions was always, always dependable. And I truly appreciated that. Tony and I had a Woodbine connection, and so we knew a lot of the same people. And I was always sorry that stability wasn't there anymore.
We cleaned that federal building from 1998 to 2008.
The other thing, just a little bit of an echo here to what Senator was saying, it's important, if you can, to go to the town meetings. And Tom has his own in a lot of different places. Senator Grassley visits every county every year. It's not always an open meeting in each county, but everybody is welcome to come to any open meeting. It doesn't have to be in your own county, but that's a good place to get his ear because he takes everybody's question. It's not a case of, your question has to be approved. That's not it at all. Anybody can ask a question. So please take this as an open invitation. And if the stars align, he'll be back next year, but we don't know that for sure until after the election. But feel free, and I'm going to speak for Senator Shipley as well. I know that you're always welcome to come to those open meetings. So please consider that.
Thank you. Senator Ernst came to see us in the middle part of August. So we have a relationship with Senator Ernst as well, and also with Senator Costello. His ear gets burned sometimes.
But he also chairs
Yes.
Human Resources
He's in a
Appropriations.
key- Yes.
So he's got crosshairs, bullseye, and the whole 9 yards that I don't have. But on the other hand, though, he doesn't sit very far from me, so I do get his ear once in a while.
I get his ear, and we also have Representative Seeks here. So, yes, we do a lot of talking, and we're thankful for everything that goes positive in our direction, and we'll just keep talking. So, by the way, when I talk about staff wages, and I'm glad Stacy mentioned that. You know, I had told everybody that our goal for this year needed to be $20 an hour starting wage. That continues to be our goal, and if we can go higher, we have a board that's committed to do the best they can for all the staff that work for them. We just sometimes, we need some help getting there, is what I'm saying. But we thank you for all that you've done. All the way from the federal down to our local people. The Board of Supervisors are always really, really supportive of us, and we appreciate the relationships that we have with them as well.
Well, Senator Shipley's voted twice for those raises.
Good.
With those
good.
budgets that
Yeah,
got
thank you.
through, so, that Sherry always makes it a point to say this is a process, we're coming back next year for more and more.
Well, that goes without
And
saying.
that, so.
Everybody does.
And Senator Costello was instrumental. I mean, he, in a lot of ways, the first time we got an increase, I'd give him a good bulk of the credit in getting that done, inside in the Capitol, so.
Yes, Marcia?
I just want to say one thing. The reason we are where we are with salaries and benefits and all that kind of stuff is because of Sherry and her staff. She is a terrific money manager. I would like to have her for my personal accountant, but she's too busy. But she's marvelous. And so whenever we get some extra money, we say, okay, this is going to go to the staff, or for this or for that, and she's amazing.
Well, and one of the reasons that we are able to do that is we do serve people with more needs. You know, we don't, in the residential world, and all of our positive revenue comes from what we do residentially. Every other service that we provide loses money. So thankfully, we have the daily residential services because, as I tell everyone, they float the boat here. But we serve a lot of very severely challenged individuals. So in the DHS world of reimbursement, there's Tier 1, which is the least amount of reimbursement. There's Tier 6, which is the most. We serve a lot of people in Tiers 5 and 6. And the tiers are based on your need for support and assistance. So the higher the tier, the more your needs for support and assistance. So, and we don't make those determinations. The managed care organizations do. So that's why we're successful. It's the Gen Gs and the Brett and Krols and all the other staff that are in here, the reason that we're successful. I'm just kind of the hub that volunteers everybody to do their job, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we have a good team. Works well.
Are there any other questions?
I had a question.
Okay.
Sorry, I was stuck at a construction stop. Hung out for 20 minutes, so that's why I came in a bit late, so I apologize if this has already been addressed. I was just curious for the staff members, what kind of mental health support is available for the staff at Nishna. And I was also curious if the staff at Nishna are eligible for such things as FMLA, short-term disability paid leave, and an EAP-style program for their mental health needs as well. So just curious about those.
We have not incorporated EAP into our services for staff. We've talked about doing that. We offer the accident, the critical illness, and the accident benefits that you can apply for. We do not have short-term and long-term disability. Again, we're right now today, well, it might be over. We've been doing a staff survey, totally anonymous. You just have to go online and answer the questions. The questions revolve around benefits. And so we're asking staff to tell us how they feel about the benefits that we currently have and what they would like to see us offer or change. And so we will take that information and work with that. We've also asked them about work culture. So we haven't focused just on the health benefits. We're focusing on engagement and work culture and what's the good, the bad, and the ugly of working here. Because, you know, like every other good employer today, you have to be mindful of that stuff, and you have to do the best you can to try and meet their needs as employees. So we have a meeting Wednesday with the people that did the surveys for us, and we'll find the results. We've done this project through True North, just so it could be totally anonymous, and we would not know who was answering the questions and what they were saying. And again, we're very, very good about taking feedback from our staff and trying to work with it.
We actually had attended all of the staff meetings throughout the agency, all 4 counties. Every staff meeting Sherry and I attended, we asked the supervisors to step out, and the staff had the opportunity to say whatever was on their mind. Like Sherry said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We did that. We still felt like maybe we weren't getting the full picture, so that's when we incorporated the survey as well. So we are committed to trying to make the culture the best that we can.
And the benefits the best that we can.
And to help attract new staff.
Just one follow-up question. Thank you so much for that info. I appreciate it. So I know that 90 to 95% of your funding is from Medicaid. Is there any portion of that that is allocated towards worker mental health or worker mental well-being? Or is that all directed primarily towards the clients, would you say?
No. You know, the clients are the most important people at Nishna Productions, and I would say to you that we work very hard in terms of pay and benefits for our staff. We don't have anything that says this is mental health. Again, certainly as we get the results of our survey, we can look at the employee assistance program. We've had some staff who have asked for it. But again, generally speaking, as a community provider in Iowa, we've been committed to pay our staff as much as we can. And generally speaking, I think while there are other providers who are paying as much as we are or more, we're right up there with the top in terms of what we're paying our direct care staff. And you know, for our direct care staff, the mental health portion is important, but for many of them who live from paycheck to paycheck, how they're going to pay their bills on a daily basis is the most important thing for them. Prior to the pandemic, we had extremely low turnover. We had 8 to 11% turnover. Obviously that changed with the pandemic, and it jumped up to like 20%. So we're hoping as we can work our way through the pandemic and deal with the aftermath of it, that again, we can continue to work on those things that you suggest. We know it's important. But you know what? These guys, the 2 that you heard speak about direct care are pretty darn committed to what they do, because they care about the people that they're taking care of. Brenton was going to be a doctor. He was going to school to be a doctor, a medical doctor. He could have made a lot more money being a medical doctor, right, Brenton?
Yep. A couple thousand more.
I did. And he could have been a medical doctor. It wasn't that he could. He just liked what he was doing so much here that, he said, my heart is here.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else? Yes.
Like I said at the introduction, my name is Brian Jack Holder. I'm running for Congress in the new 4th Congressional District. I'm from Council Bluffs. But, you know, something we can consider as a source of additional revenue to pay for these programs here in the United States is to stop sending billions of dollars to the Ukraine. into a war zone. Our government has spent nearly $50 billion. That's 50,000 millionaires our government has created in a country that I have no connection to, most of us here have no connection to. So there's other programs. The military-industrial complex has weapon systems that we don't need. There's so much waste and fraud and abuse that you people here working in this community should be getting paid, not sending money overseas in foreign aid. So, but part of the problem, the way things are done, the way they're done is, it's so difficult to run for federal office. My friend Ryan Melton here, he's the Democratic candidate in the 4th Congressional District, and he's running in the race that I'm in with Congressman Feenstra. Now, it shouldn't require millions of dollars to win an election for Congress. That's not what this country was founded upon, where only the ultra-rich people have the opportunity to participate in the marketplace of ideas. So it's a miracle that Ryan got on the ballot and I got on the ballot, because it's so difficult for one individual person to go out into these communities where we know no one, to ask complete strangers for permission to run for public office. That's not representative government. You know, my friends in the Republican Party of Iowa, a year ago, they increased my burden to run for this office by 400%. And Tom Shipley here is my state senator, and he voted to increase my burden to run for Congress a 5th time by 400%. He didn't increase his own number of signatures. He still has to get 100, but he imposed a 2,000 signature burden upon me and Ryan. Now that's completely wrong. So, and I don't know if Senator Shipley wants to respond to that, but there was no compelling governmental interest to keep me off the ballot, except for the fact that the Republican Party of Iowa blames me for David Young losing the last 2 elections. You know what? That loss is on David and his party, because I don't take campaign contributions. I don't raise millions of dollars. I'm just like one of you average people sitting out here in the audience. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I gotta say, I'm definitely worried to hear some of the issues that you've mentioned. I just had a phone call with Good Samaritan out of Fontenelle, and they plan on closing. And they explained that the reason for that was Medicaid reimbursement rates. And so this might be for council over here, but I want to make Donna and I's job a little easier. Are there specific federal asks that you want us to take away from here?
We only do this at the state level.
Okay.
But I will say that if you get in touch with Anchor, that's the ANCOR, that's the umbrella group that represents them at the federal level. Thank you for your interest, though. Appreciate it.
It's definitely concerning when other folks have had to close down because of exactly what you're talking about.
I think you'll see that you haven't seen it here in western Iowa yet, but I do think in eastern Iowa, there's quite a few nursing homes that are closing. You know, and whether it's reimbursement rates or other reasons, not being able to hire enough staff. Again, I think the focus of the government, the federal government is, and Sydney and Tim, you and I, we've all sat and listened to Director Garcia of the Department of Health and Human Services in Iowa talk about the focus is on community, people living in the community. And so, and as I said, I was with the doctor's office in Red Oak earlier today, and we talked a lot about the fact that facilities, nursing homes, and I have nothing against those places, please don't misunderstand me. People don't want to live in those places anymore, they want to live in the community. And I think you're seeing a funding shift to the community. Granted, it's not enough yet, but that's what's going on. And that may be part of the challenge that nursing homes are feeling. Obviously, Medicaid reimbursement rates, it doesn't matter what your business is, it's a challenge. And what happens in nursing homes is the people who are private pay end up paying for those that are not. And that's also a big challenge.
Okay, thanks. Anything else?
I'll make one little quick comment.
Of course.
I'm jealous how much fun my son has at Day Happy. He has more of a social life than I do.
He probably behaves. He probably behaves better.
They are on the go all the time.
They do.
So Monica oversees our HRN or DAHAP. And so one of the pluses of people coming from GRC, one of the things that is an attraction for agencies like us, and not just us, but any community provider that delivers day habilitation, is the day habilitation. You know, they got to leave home and they get to have a meaningful day. Meaningful day is very important to all of us. And sometimes when I deal with Glenwood, we're only talking about residential, and we need to talk about meaningful day, which is meaningful day plus residential. The folks that come to DayHab, and it doesn't matter if they're in Glenwood, Shenandoah, or Red Oak, they're busy, they're happy, they're doing things. That's a meaningful day. Work that Julie works on is a meaningful day, and we have to remember that.
Well, and that's a piece of day having New York too, is that we're now, there was a recent rule change, we're able to expose the clients that come to Dayhab to work opportunities too. I mean, we can talk about what types of jobs are out in the community, and for those people that it's appropriate for, those that are interested in learning about that. So.
Okay, any other comments?
Just one other question about the NIMBY concern, the not in my backyard concerns that were brought up earlier. I'm just curious if, so when you go to Malvern or Shenandoah or Red Oak and you have a duplex, as you mentioned, or a housing arrangement, and some of the nearby neighbors might be a bit concerned about safety in the community, I'm curious if there's ever been any outreach with the local law enforcement authorities to make sure there's partnership and a seamless understanding. Just curious about that.
Yes, we haven't done it yet. I mean, in Red Oak and Shenandoah, we're just a part of the community. We can do that in Glenwood. I do believe historically you've met with law enforcement in Glenwood. In Sydney, at one point in time, we had a couple of guys that we were providing services to that they had deviant sexual behavior. And so before we did anything with them, we sat down with the sheriff and we talked with them about what was going on, and we got their support. And so yes, we do that. As a matter of fact, one of them actually got a job cleaning at the Fremont County Jail. So yeah, we work on that all the time. In Montgomery County, we clean at the courthouse, we clean the sheriff's office. I mean, we work really hard on relationships. Does that mean we're perfect? No, we always need to do more, but we're mindful of what you're talking about.
No, that's really good. I'm glad to hear that, because one of the concerns that was coming to my mind about that is not, just the concerns that neighbors have, which I think sound to be rather unfounded, and as you said, can just be addressed with more education. But their concern is just making sure that the local authorities, not just law enforcement, but all the pertinent authorities, understand the unique challenges that the clients have, and are therefore well aware of adjusting and accommodating as necessary, not being caught by surprise and adjusting accordingly. So just curious about that acclimation and that shared understanding to avoid an escalation of concern. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. So thank you all for coming. I would like to invite you to join us for light refreshments, a light meal back there. We'll go ahead and start with all those who have a star on your name tag. You guys can go ahead and go through first. You're welcome to help yourselves and stay and eat. I know our board members are going to be having a visit here shortly.
When you get through.
And so our legislators and our politicians will go through first, and then our board members will go through. And then it'll be the rest of you work here.